You're a Batman? Spin Master's got a set of wheels for you. Here's a look at the brand new Spin Master toys, The Flash movie, The Flash Young Barry Allen, Batman, and Batmobile. Coming out of retirement to help a troubled Barry Allen, once again Bruce Wayne will need to rely on his Bat Tech to save the day. That includes the original Batmobile. But does this universe's Cape Crusader have what it takes to meet a new deadly threat head-on? Just before we look at two pocket-sized heroes and a sweet ride that comes with them, I'd like to first thank the folks over at Spin Master Toys that did provide the sample of the brand new Flash movie Young Barry Allen, Michael Keaton's Batman, and the 1989 Batmobile. Gonna have a lot of fun with this one. Grabbing the old tape measure as I always do, I'm only gonna really measure one of the figures. They're about the same size to one another. Young Barry Allen, in this case, wearing, of course, what seems to be the Batman Returns Batman suit, stands about 4 inches in height, or the figure's going to be about 10 centimeters tall. As for then the Batmobile, I'm going to take the end of its fin is where, of course, we're going to start. We're going to go all the way to the front of its headlights. And that gives us a Batmobile that's 13 inches in length, or it's going to be about 31 centimeters long. We've made a little bit of progress, so let's bring a couple of figures that we've already had a look at. Here's what young Barry Allen looks like with regular Barry Allen, the one, of course, that disrupts all the temporal timeline. We did have a look at the Michael Keaton Batman, and I did want to bring him in also as well, because I did speculate that they were going to be re-released, or just essentially reusing the same figure with the Batmobile, and sure enough, that seems to be the case. Short of maybe the single-pack Batman coming included with, of course, the grapple gun and the Batarang, where we did check him out in his own standalone review, it does in fact seem to be the exact same figure used again. Both Barry and Bruce come with no accessories to speak of, other than, of course, the Batmobile that's standing behind them. We're going to have a look at the individual figures. First, let's start with Barry Allen. Now, you already know my feelings when it comes to this particular suit. Once again, it seems to be the case that he's taking the Batman Returns suit. Whether that be the case or not, you can see that he's painted, of course, the lightning bolt there on the front. He's painted in makeshift belt there on the front as well, and he's given himself some elbow pads and possibly fingerless gloves, although in this case it looks like they painted them completely all in black. The figure's head sculpt, again, for what the size is of these figures, I think is well handled here. Paint's pretty good again on the eyes. Paint is also quite well handled here for the mouth area, and still don't know exactly what that thing is that goes around the back of his head, whether it's a pair of headphones, something that he allows him to communicate with other people. I'm not really sure. Of course, we'll find out soon enough. Of course, drawing the attention to the fact that they did cut off the top of his ears, or Batman's poor ears have been cut off the top of the cowl to give us, again, this version of Flash. It's, again, an okay version of Flash. I mean, really, if given the choice, I really do like the more classic-looking suit, as classic as this suit could really be. While this is maybe more the darker burgundy color, this version of Flash is definitely a more vibrant red, and there's a lot more, of course, opportunities from the paint department to really showcase and shine some really nice panel lining that they put to this piece. This Flash costume is, again, a little more cruder because, again, he's making use of another hero's suit and essentially just painting over top of it. So, again, like when it comes to paint, there really isn't as much happening on this version of Flash than there was on this version of Flash. For the articulation on this Flash, the head is, again, going to be on the rotational ball joint. You can rotate it back and forth. I did notice, though, when it comes to moving his head, there really is some stubbornness, reluctancy when it comes to head. When you turn it, you can see it almost snaps back in place. I wonder if it's just a really tight ball joint. But the head does rotate back and forth. Technically, you could rotate it all the way around. Head does look up, looks down only by a little bit, and barely you can rock it back and forth. Again, when it comes to the arms are going to come out at 90 degrees. Just get the other arm going out here. In fact, you can actually go a lot further than 90 degrees. Yippee, yippee. And you can also take it as well, the arms, and rotate them all the way around. That's the case on both the sides. Still, you have a rotational hinge back and forth here for the elbow that also serves to be a bend. There is no waist articulation, but there is at least ball joints at the tops of the thighs. Swivel cuts 3/4 of the way up the thigh. Again, you can rotate that all the way around. Single hinge only here in the lower knee, and you can also rotate it at that same point. One thing also, by adding the kneecap here on the front, the little knee pad that he has, it sort of does give a little bit of a brokenness when you do bend the knee this far, depending on, again, how much you want to have these figures posed on your shelf. So there's young Barry Allen. We're just going to put him off to the side, at least enough that you can still see him in frame. Picking up the new, well, again, retired Batman, played again by Michael Keaton. I'm going to bring back in the one that we already looked at before. This was the one, of course, that came included with the grapple gun, that came also included with the Batarang, and it seems to be the case that you can see that it is in fact the exact same figure. If you're not too disheartened by the idea of not getting a Batarang or a grapple gun, you really don't necessarily need to get this version of Batman, as basically it seems to be the same case that you're getting the exact same one again. The cape is attached the exact same way, and the cape being a softer material obviously is going to make things a lot easier when it comes to him sitting inside the Batmobile. Again, you're just going to bend the legs. Again, overall, a nice looking Batman, and no complaints, no real issues when it comes to the figure's head sculpt. Still, I feel like the neck is possibly a little too long when you're looking at, in both cases now, two Batmans. The neck does seem a little on the tad long side. But other than that, it's a nice looking Batman for, again, its size. The thing I really like about this line is the fact that they're scaled of the right size, that kids can play with these. But again, when you get small figures like this, it gives a company like Spin Master a real opportunity to then incorporate some brand new vehicles, which is not something a lot of toy companies can do when you get figures that are larger in size. For the articulation on Batman, it's going to be exactly the same as before. So again, you've got your straight head swivel, again, the arms. I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about this. Hinging again in the elbows, arms rotate, legs hinge, bend, swivel at the top of the thigh, and again, that's it. So you still also have figures with peg holes in the undersides of their feet. So again, if you wanted to use a display stand, though not included with this set, you can at least use display stands that have come included with other figures, as the same diameter sized peg holes used on the bottoms of their boots. Those are the two figures that come included. Obviously, the price of admission of seeing this review is the fact that you guys did want to see. Let's just move these figures over here for a second. You guys did want to see what the Batmobile looks like. I don't know why Batman's having a little harder time. Let's just at least keep him somewhat in frame, because we're going to want to bring him back in a moment. Okay, so getting a closer look at the Batmobile, it's again a nice looking Batmobile. One thing to the credit, at least of Spin Masters, that they did have at least the cockpit canopy the same color as the rest of the Batmobile. If anybody has seen my recent review of another Batmobile made by another company, the canopy unfortunately was a different color than the rest of the plastic, but being that they molded it all in the same plastic gives us not only an opportunity to have matching colors, but they also did take the time to add a color tinted window on the inside slots there. Speaking of slots, you can see there's a little slot here in the front. You don't actually press a button in this case. All you're going to do is take the top canopy and you're just going to slide it forward. I don't know why, again, I'm having such a hard time. Just kind of grab it from the sides. Maybe grabbing it from the top, not the best idea. Grabbing it from the sides is a lot easier of an idea. Slide it forward, and then you've got enough necessary space inside to seat Batman. Just to quickly show you what the inside cockpit looks like. The controls are there, strangely though, because again, it's a single-seater here. Batman in the original 89 movie would have had a double-seater, but again, I don't mind the fact that you get a single-seater this time around if it means that we are getting ourselves a Batmobile release. Strangely, because of that, it's a single-seater. You've got yourself now the steering wheel in the center instead of actually being off to the side. Again, it's not a big deal. You can take yourself, again, the Batman figure. There's no real paint happening on the inside. Again, it's not a big deal breaker for me that he doesn't have paint. But you're going to take yourself Batman. And not much of the canopy slides forward. So you have to kind of get Batman tucked underneath there. And, of course, you're going to want to make sure that the cape is folded down as well. Batman sits quite far down in there, in fact. You're not going to have any issues with head clearance, for example. In fact, you can even have Batman sitting further down than probably what you would want it. But get him to about the place where I really want to have it. Then take yourself the canopy and slide it back. It couldn't have been any bit easier than that. It's fairly hollow, though. Like, it's a fairly light-feeling Batmobile. And in fact, when you tip it upside down, you can kind of see the way they've made the bottom of it hollow. But again, like the fact that we are getting ourselves a Batmobile from Spin Master, just love the idea that they have released this vehicle. Now, it does have spinning tires, of course, here on the sides. There's no real paint happening for the little emblems there that we get. And the tires, while not being rubber, spin fairly well, the plastic that they've used. Again, you've got your back headlights, your back tail lights, I should say, represented here nicely in red. The turbine engine, the thruster here in the back, has nicely been painted in silver. No fire effects or anything along those lines, but that's still fine. It's, again, a nice-looking Batmobile. What I found was interesting, though, is that the back wings look like they were separate pieces. No assembly is really required on your part when you get this first immediately out of its box, but it did seem like maybe the wings had to be separately applied before they eventually boxed the Batmobile. It sort of does result in leaving a real line here where you can really notice that the back fin is definitely different from the rest of the molding that they use. Again, I don't know why they would have done this differently and not just simply cast the entire thing all in one mold. Not producing toys, at least on as a side hobby. I don't do that myself. Maybe I don't understand why they wouldn't have not just molded this all together. Anyways, though, got some nice coloring detailing done to the side here. Got some nice silver represented here. And again, like I'm guessing this is the kind of the exhaust area here. The port, of course, that's going to let out some of the steam on the sides. That's nicely been painted there also in silver. Again, it's a nice looking Batmobile. It doesn't have a function. It doesn't have anything like a turret that does rotate, but I think it does the job rather nicely. And one thing it's done well on Spin Master's part is, at least again, like the canopy is at least a matching color to the rest of the plastic that they did use for the Batmobile. Unlike the other company we already had a look at, not mentioning the names of course, that company. That company ended up using a different color of plastic. So, of course, when they tried to paint it, it was a completely different color than the rest of Batmobile. This one does look really nicely. And, of course, also one thing that we will be looking at in an upcoming review, tipping my hat a little bit early, is that Spin Master has also produced the Batwing. And they've also produced the Ben Affleck Batman Batcycle. I can't even get that out. We are, of course, going to be looking at that in all upcoming reviews as well. But yeah, if you're definitely looking for like a well-made Batmobile, I think this does the job rather nicely. Not only for kids, but also collectors alike that want to get themselves a smaller scale Batmobile that does still manage to fit the Cape Crusader inside of it. While I have been really enjoying looking at the 4-inch line of Flash movie figures, the thing I was the most interested in, and I think the thing that Spin Master benefits the most by releasing this figure in a 4-inch line, is by also releasing in-scaled vehicles that can go along with the figures. Of course, we did want to start things off with looking at the original '89 Batmobile, and if you can overlook the fact that this one, once again, isn't a double-seater, so it can't store, unfortunately, 2 figures inside the canopy, I think you're still getting a great-looking Batmobile when it's all said and done. It doesn't have gimmicks, no. It doesn't have necessarily features going for it. It rolls, and that's all that matters. It has a canopy that opens, and that, again, all that matters. And it has the means to store Batman inside. It's really, as long as it has those 3 things checked off and a canopy. Let's also forget the fact it also has a canopy that matches the rest of the color of plastic. And while that may seem like a small thing, it keeps things rather nicely consistent with this version of Batmobile. It's a little lighter. It doesn't feel as hard or heavy of a vehicle as maybe the one that we looked at before. But I think all in all around, if you're looking for a nice looking Batmobile to put on the shelf, that one in this case does not take up as much space, look no further than the one that we got here from Spin Master. Now, again, we are going to be looking at a bunch of vehicles in upcoming reviews. I did, again, want to start things off with the '89 Batmobile, but we are also going to be going along with that and looking at the Batwing and the Batcycle that comes included with Ben Affleck's Batman. Definitely going to be a lot more coming your way. But what do you guys think of the Batmobile? Could you guys see yourselves picking this one up and adding it to your collection? Weigh in your thoughts down below of what you guys think of the new Spin Master, the Flash movie, Batmobile. Also, as well, I'd like to thank again the folks over at Spin Master Toys that did provide this sample of not only young Barry Allen, not only a Michael Keaton Batman, but also the Batmobile that went along with those 2 figures. A big thank you to Spin Master for sending this my way. If you guys enjoyed this video, I want to hit with a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing and certainly on board to seeing more, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, and make sure as well you're turning on bell notification. As already tipping my hat early, we are going to be looking at the Batwing, we're also going to be looking at the Batcycle, and we're also going to be looking at a bunch of other Flash figures, so there's lots of definitely stuff coming your way. So as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.